Hey everybody, my name's Ryan. This is Roll for Initiative, and the Far Cry franchise is massive. It's 14 years old and has taken us to so many different exotic locations. Tropical islands, fictional countries, the African subcontinent, and now, at long last, Montana? That's right, let's get on our flannel and take a look at this review of Far Cry 5. Alright folks, now I'm definitely ready to talk about the latest in the Far Cry series. I'm about 20 hours into the game, and I do want to say right away that this video might get mildly spoilery, but I'm going to try to keep that towards the end of the video, and I'm going to give you plenty of warning beforehand, so don't feel like you have to wait in order to watch most of what I'm going to talk about today. In Far Cry 5, you start off as a new deputy, lovingly referred to as Rook throughout the game, because you're a rookie. There's some character customization in this one. You get to pick your gender, and you get to customize your clothes, which is, I don't know, I guess I actually do think that that's kind of fun. I guess some people might think it's silly, but whatever. It's something else. If you like it, do it. If you don't, that's fine too. Starting off, you're with the sheriff and a federal agent in order to serve a warrant to the leader of a cult called Project Eden's Gate. You land your helicopter, you go in, you get a good feel for just how fairly crazy these people are, and then you're tasked with arresting the leader of the group. Things very quickly go sideways and you find yourself in a firefight. The very beginning of the game is very nice, like most of the Far Cry games, in introducing you to what the combat and the control system looks like. Occasionally tutorials do pop up letting you know what buttons to push and how to use the menu, but if you've played any of the Far Cry games, this is going to be really easy for you to get past, and the controls, even if you haven't played them, are fairly intuitive. There's two main groups in Far Cry 5 that you're going to need to get used to: the Peggies and the Cougars. Hope County's baseball team is called the Cougars, and so basically that's reference to all of the resistance. The Peggies is the playful nickname for the crazy murder cult, Project Eden's Gate, PEG, Peggies. So, there you go. The first thing that I want to talk about in this is the acting. It's really good. The motion capture and the digital art is fantastic. Some of the stills and cutscenes, they look photorealistic, and it's done very nicely. Greg Brick is the actor who plays the father, and he does a great job. He's creepy and he's scary, and the use of staring into the camera, breaking the fourth wall almost, is really unsettling and done very well. You might recognize his voice from shows like Frontier, Bitten, and Wynonna Earp. Mark Pellegrino, who's a name that you are absolutely going to recognize if you are a fan of Supernatural, is also lending his voice talents to the game. It's awesome, it's fantastic. He's an actor that I absolutely love, and I haven't really run into him yet. He plays Jacob Seed, and I just haven't gotten to that territory. But I'm really looking forward for when he pops up. The two actors that I'm really impressed with are Janissa Grant and Christopher Hayden Hall, who play Faith and the sheriff, respectively. You might recognize Janissa's voice from Orphan Black and The Handmaid's Tale, and Christopher you're going to recognize, again, he's one of my favorite actors in Wynonna Earp, but he's also been on Supernatural and plays a really good part in Caprica. One of the things that makes the acting so good is that they've really managed to capture the subtlety of movement with the mocap. People start to leave and stop and catch their breath because they want to say something and then they walk away. As well as sort of the jerky eye movement. There's a lot of close-ups so far in my first 20 hours of the game, where you're really staring into the eyes of these characters, and most people's eyes aren't kept perfectly still and focused. They look around. Their attention is grabbed by other things as they're talking. And so it looks really natural and very realistic when you see that happen with most of the characters. It also really makes it stand out when the father stares directly into your eyes as he preaches. Again, it's one of the things that really kind of makes him creepy. Most of the storytelling in this Far Cry is happening in your cutscenes and sort of happening over the radio and as you talk to other members of the Resistance and citizens of Hope County. The story kind of comes out a little more choppy or chunky than it has in some of the previous games, and I've seen some people complaining about that. It doesn't bother me, but I kind of understand why people are saying that Far Cry 5, the story isn't quite as streamlined. I think that that's probably pretty fair. Now, I will say that I've only stuck in one main area, Faith's area, so I haven't experienced the bubbles of story that a few other people have been talking about. Maybe if I would move around more, I would, but it hasn't bothered me because I haven't experienced it. The acting's fantastic, the art is really great, and the music is really well done. There's a lot of violin, well, I guess I should say there's a lot of fiddle and banjo. It adds something to the atmosphere. It kind of places you in this rural America. And it's not done, at least in my opinion, it's not done in sort of a cheesy Deliverance kind of way. It's one of the things, along with the sweeping landscapes, that makes the rural nature of Montana another one of the characters in the game. Now, I will say that I do have some gripes, I have some complaints. Some stuff really hasn't been great in my experience so far. The game's a little glitchy. I see a lot of things rendering a little too late, especially as I use the helicopter. Oh yeah, you get a helicopter really early on in the game. And so, I kind of expected a little bit more. Also, when the graphics are so good most of the time, when you have things fail to render, it just makes it stand out even more. On 3 or 4 separate occasions, I've gotten stuck in a doorway or wedged into a wall, or I've phased halfway through a tree and I've just had to restart. And the fall damage in this one, I don't know if this is a glitch, it seems a lot harsher than in some of the other games. If that's just something I need to get better at as a player, that's fine. If it's something that gets tweaked later, well, that might be a little nice too. On 2 separate occasions, I've gotten killed in cutscenes, and that is really infuriating. I've been talking to some of the characters, and then all of a sudden bad guys have shown up, started shooting at me, and I have no way to get out of the dialogue. That's happened to me twice now. It's a frustrating way to die, especially because you have no control over it, and it seems like something that should be pretty easy to avoid. And to be fair, this isn't that I've run up to try to have a conversation in the middle of a firefight. No, it's been after I've cleared out an area, or I've finished the first part of a mission, been prompted to talk to somebody else, and then in the middle of that conversation, bad guys show up, I can't do anything, and I've died. It's happened twice, and I really hope it doesn't happen again. And lastly, my biggest complaint is, as you know if you've watched a lot of these videos, the silent protagonist. We've had really talented voice actors and pretty good dialogue from the Far Cry games in the past. And it's just awkward. It's weird to have these one-sided conversations where people are there, and there's good writing going on. I mean, the script supervisors, there's good stuff. And then I'm just staring blankly at them and I walk away in silence. I mean, we've got good voice actors. Far Cry as a franchise has shown they can write good dialogue. I don't really understand why we have a silent protagonist in this one. That's probably my single biggest complaint for this game. I'm still loving it. I'm still enjoying it. I still think it's one of my favorite Far Cry games. But you let me down a little bit there, Ubisoft. Let the guy talk. So those are some of my complaints. Now let me try to tell you what Far Cry 5 has done really well as it's improved over some of the others in the franchise. The towers are gone. I don't have to look around and find lookout points and climb them anymore in order to unlock the fog of war or new areas, and I'm so happy. The first time I saw a phone tower or a radio tower in the game, I just ran up to it because I figured I was going to have to climb it. And I did later on, But one of the people that I'm talking to in the game makes a pretty funny joke about how that's not something that's going to keep happening. I think you'll have a good laugh when you get to that part of the game as well. I'm really glad that they got rid of this. It's much more open world and it feels much more natural to simply walk around, drive around, fly the helicopter in order to discover new areas. I also like the fact that your perks, a lot of them are tied to different accomplishments. Now you're going to get perks from reading different types of essentially field and stream magazines, but you also get them from doing stuff. You hunt animals, and there's a skinning mechanism now, and you can sell those skins for cash. So even the skinning and hunting of the animals seems better than in some of the past games. You can go fishing, you rescue people, you kill bad guys in certain ways, and doing those things, almost like an achievement, unlocks perks for you to spend to better your character. I really like this way of character advancement more than just an experience point system. And on top of all of that, the population of Hope County just feels more real. As you play through the game, you meet more folks. They have pretty good filler dialogue. And every time you meet them, there's a chance that they might let you know about a new person in the game or give you a side quest just because it's kind of naturally come up in conversation. Now, the different people that you meet are also going to potentially be guns for hire. Now, Far Cry 2 kind of did this, and it's one of my favorite things in this game. As you go, you unlock different companions. I think that there's 8 of them. If I'm wrong, I'm sure someone will let me know. But I think there's 8 different companions that you can summon to be with you, as well as slots for just hiring guns, different specialists and different freedom fighters that you're meeting along the way. Right now, I have 2 people that use rifles as well as a long-distance sort of sniper that uses a bow. But if I wanted, I could go find someone that does melee or uses a machine gun if that's what I would rather them do. It's a really neat part, and those guns for hire, they all have names. They all have dialogue, and they chat with you as you run around, so they start to feel like real people, and I'm more careful when I use them. I don't just send them in as a distraction and as cannon fodder. And I really like that. It makes it feel like I'm saving a town, not just running through a sea of NPCs. All right, so this is the part where I'm going to talk about what my gameplay has been, and it might get mildly spoilery, all right? So before we jump into all of that, we're going to flash up a big old symbol of the Project Eden's Gate. When I'm done talking, we'll put that symbol back up. So you can just sort of scroll through and jump to the end of that if you want to miss some spoilers. All right? So spoilers are coming in 3, 2, 1. I went after Faith first. It just seemed like the direction to go. Now, Faith is one of the seeds, Jacob's seed, John's seed, Faith's seed. She's one of the 3 disciples of the Father. And this is the part of Far Cry 5 that kind of has that supernatural or spiritual feel that's come in a lot of the other games. In her area, there is the bliss. It's a hallucinogenic, narcotic drug that they use to try to help and control their cult members. Now, as you go through this area, you will start to hallucinate yourself. I know the first time it happened to me, I went to go save a civilian from a cult member, and then the civilian turned into a grizzly bear. As you go through earning points to draw Faith out, the hallucinations get much more vivid. You get tiny little cutscenes where you have to follow her and you see what's going on. And some of these, it really feels like I'm not sure if it's happening and I'm just seeing things differently, or if it is a completely sort of spiritual thing that's happening. Now, this was really frustrating whenever the federal agent kills Victor, one of the main sort of side quest characters. I didn't really like it because it didn't make sense to me. Everyone said how much they didn't trust the federal agent after you rescue him, but then in the cutscene, they've given him his gun back, and then he guns people down and shoots himself in the head. You watch all of this happen in a field with a couple of desks, and it's supposed to be mirroring exactly what's happening back at the jail. To me, it felt a little cheap, a little cheesy in the writing, just to be honest. Now, maybe it'll get explained a little bit better later on in the game. I have defeated Faith. I've gotten through this one section. Or maybe it's just supposed to represent how messed up those drugs are. Either way, I understand why it happened, and it just sort of bothered me the way that they did it. Liberating the jail both times is pretty difficult, but I will say that a combination of the handgun and the sniper rifle is basically the way that I've gone through all 20 hours of this game. And with a little bit of hunting and fishing, unlocking the big, massive sniper rifle that you're supposed to pay for with silver bars, it didn't take me too long to get that, and the thing really packs a punch. You equip it with the best scope and a silencer, and it's something that you can easily liberate a ton of the different areas with no alarms, getting cash, and doing it without really having to fight very much. If you like to run in, though, maybe try the shotgun or the assault rifles. I'd like to hear how well that goes for you. Just a very different style. The boss fight with Faith was very interesting. She sort of bamfs in and out of existence and throws magic missiles at you. It's a very bizarre thing that happens under the influence of the bliss. It's going to come at you in 3 waves, and you'll have other of the angels, the sort of crazy, maybe zombie-type characters that are coming at you, and that's fine. For the first wave, I used the pistol on both Faith and the zombies, but for everything after that, I used my pistol for the zombies, and I used my sniper rifle, just sort of shot from the hip, in order to take Faith out. It does a massive amount of damage to her life. I did think it was interesting that she lets you know that the father thought he was the prophet, but we were the one that was going to ultimately make the choice. So we'll see if that factors into the way that Far Cry likes to let you think that you're playing from a very clear perspective and point of view, and then later in the game sort of shift it and change it, and things aren't exactly how they seem. So that's what I've done so far, all right? I was able to take out and liberate Faith's section. It does mean that a lot of the bliss goes away, and the random encounters with cultists are much fewer and far between as I just sort of fly around and all of that. Flying around has been really easy, by the way. The biggest thing that I've had to watch out for is the attack plane that apparently the Peggies have. All right, so there we go. We are out of spoiler territory. And welcome back to everybody who skipped that because they didn't want any spoilers. I'm really glad that you stuck around for the end of the video. The major thing that's a part of Far Cry 5 that I haven't done yet is the arcade. Now, from my understanding, it's sort of the matchmaking session of this. You can build your own levels to a certain degree. And I know that there's a bunch of areas that have already been built to look like Battlegrounds, Halo, Borderlands, and a couple of the other games that are out there, Battlefront. So that's kind of neat. I'll definitely jump in. I just haven't done that yet. I'm playing it on the PS4. I'd love to hear if there's some differences on the Xbox. I'm guessing that there probably aren't. As well as, what approach did you take? Do you like to snipe? Do you use the bow? Do you like the pistol? Or maybe melee? Or maybe the flamethrower and rocket launcher is your style of play? Let me know how your experience has been with Far Cry 5 in the comment sections below, and thanks a lot for joining us. I want to give a huge thanks to all of our patrons over at Patreon. It's really awesome the way that you help support us. I want to give a special shout out to our newest patron, Joan, and our other patrons, Arby, Sean, Will, and Lainey. If you'd like to be one of our Patreons, head over to www.patreon.com/rollforinitiative, take a look at our perks, and maybe join at a certain level. Even if you're not a patron, absolutely thank you. You're the reason why we make these videos. So continue to like, share, and subscribe. Give us the comments down below. You can hit the bell icon to get announcements whenever our new video is out. And the biggest thing that you can do to help us, honestly, share the video. That's really awesome when you do that kind of stuff. I'm Ryan. This has been Roll for Initiative, and I'll see you next time. The hallucinations